U.S. labor activist has been assaulted by IDF, Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza. Put it up full mass. I have a story to tell you. Saturday night, the Israeli Defense Forces intercepted and boarded the Handala, an aid ship that attempted to reach Gaza as part of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. We've talked about this before, a grassroots international collective that has worked to end Israel's blockade of Gaza since 2010. According to the coalition, IDF soldiers beat and choked the American labor activist Chris Smalls, who was on board the ship. Smalls is most well known for co-founding the Amazon Labor Union. Quote, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition confirms that upon arrival in Israeli custody, U.S. human rights defender Chris Smalls was physically assaulted by 7 uniformed individuals. They choked him and kicked him in the legs, leaving visible signs of violence on his neck and back. The coalition wrote in a statement posted on Instagram on Tuesday morning. Quote, when his lawyer met with him, Chris was surrounded by 6 members of Israel's special police unit. This level of force was not used against other abducted activists. We condemn this violence against Chris and demand accountability for the assault and discriminatory treatment he faced. Now, I'm going to get into some more details in just a moment. But this is the time, typically, when the American president would make a statement, the U.S. State Department would make a statement, and multiple U.S. senators would make statements about this particular issue happening abroad. Why haven't they made a statement? Here it is. Smalls, the only Black person on board the boat, was one of 21 members of the group who were detained. Others included 19 civilians, including parliamentarians, medics, engineers, journalists. You have Jacob Berger, Jewish-American actor, who shared on Instagram that Smalls was in great spirits after his detention. Everyone else who was detained, he said, should be released on Tuesday or Wednesday. The Handala, which carried food, baby formula, diapers, and medicine, was attempting to breach Israel's blockade of Gaza as Palestinians there continue to starve in what UN-backed hunger experts have called, quote, worst case scenario, a famine that is unfolding. The interception of the Handala came as more than 30 Israeli public figures called for crippling sanctions over Israel's starvation of Gaza. Donald Trump said he wanted, quote, to make sure Gazans get the food, every ounce of food, during a recent meeting with the UK Prime Minister. The Handala was not the first effort by the coalition to deliver aid to Gaza. Previous attempts included one in June. We talked about this one, where Ms. Thumber was arrested, were also intercepted by Israel. 2010, Israeli commandos killed 10 activists setting sail for Gaza on the Mavi Marmara. It is a dangerous job. It is a dangerous volunteer mission. It is a dangerous thing. And all they're doing is following international law, following the decree of NATO, following the decree of every single international coalition that we know. The rule is simple. People who are innocent should be able to get food. Every coalition says that. All of them. Put up the picture full mass. Retired U.S. Special Forces veteran Anthony Aguella, who recently returned from Gaza, talked about a horrific story of a child shot dead at an aid distribution site just moments after thanking him for the food he helped provide. He witnessed the incident while working as a subcontractor for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an organization backed by the United States and Israel to replace the United Nations efforts to provide aid to Gaza. In an operation that independent observers have described as dangerous and ineffective. Put him up. This young child, this is on May 28th. On May 28th, on secure distribution site number 2, the aid had been distributed. A lot of people had left, showing pictures. He showed pictures of the event. He continued, this little boy, his name is Amir, and he was standing. He was with the crowd. He walks over to me, and he puts his hand out. And at first, I thought like that he wanted more food or something. And I felt bad because I didn't have anything. But I was like, oh, I have nothing. And he puts his hand out. And so I beckoned him to come with me. I said, come here. And he reaches out and he holds my hand and he kisses my hand. He kisses my hand and he says, shukran, shukran, which means thank you in Arabic. Quote, you can see in this picture that this little boy is not wearing shoes. His clothes are falling off of him because he's so skinny. This little boy, from where he came from, walked 12 kilometers to get here. Just to get here, 12 kilometers. Look at this boy. And when he got there, he thanked us for the remnants and the small crumbs that he got. And he sets his food down and he places his hands on my face, on the side of my face, on my cheeks. These frail, skeleton, emaciated hands, dirty. And he puts them on my face and he kissed me. He kissed me and he said, thank you in English. In Islam, it's called the Holy Kiss. He collected his items. He walked back to the group. And then he was shot at with pepper spray and tear gas and stun grenades and bullets shot at his feet and in the air, and he runs away scared. He says Amir was then shot by cowards, by these soldiers in Israel, along with others attempting to get food. Quote, as they're leaving the site and they get to the next intersection, I hear machine gun fire. He said the idea for shooting at the crowd, quote, human beings are dropping to the ground and getting shot. Amir was one of them. Amir walked 12 kilometers to get food. Got nothing but scraps. Thanked us for it and died. That's what we are doing. Elsewhere, Senator Lisa Slotkin went on Breaking Points to talk about the starvation in Gaza. When Krista Ball clashed with the Senate over her voting record on the U.S. to give aid to Israel. Here it is.
What are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, I mean, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would, codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So
don't play powerless with me. You're a United States senator. There are things you can do.
In terms of who runs our foreign policy, I just think it's interesting, right? That there was a ton of protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay.
Spoken like the true politician that you are, madam. It's real simple. If you kill children, I have no friendship with you. I give you no money. I support you not publicly or privately. There is no complication in that. There is nobody that could get me to change my mind. There is no compromise. Only a handful of individuals took that stance, and the vast majority of them lost their job in the US Congress because of it. Now, if I have to sell my soul to keep a job, please keep that job to your damn self. Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, we've been hearing so many stories about what's been going on with aid not reaching the IDF victims in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu is bizarrely doing a bunch of podcast appearances right now because nothing in this timeline feels real anymore. But he's out there saying that the reason why Palestinians, including Palestinian children, are starving to death is because Hamas has just swooped in and they keep taking all of the food and water and keeping it for themselves. We simply have not been seeing that happening. The fact that Netanyahu is even trying to portray Israel as a benevolent force here while they're actively destroying life in Gaza, it's ridiculous. Like, post October 7th assaults aside, Israel had been actively and unapologetically, forcefully colonizing Palestine for decades, even prior to all the recent carnage that we've been seeing. And that is a very, very much like an offense. That is an assault on a people. Israel has never been benevolent in this situation. And I just want to point out something, Doc. Famine historically is often not the result of, say, drought or poor farming conditions that afflict a land. I think it's one thing to say that people are afflicted with famine because that just sounds like it's an unfortunate thing that has happened. It doesn't really blame anyone outright. It's just a thing that has happened. It's a thing that happens sometimes, and it's like, that's too bad. That's another thing we have to deal with on top of everything else that we're already dealing with. But really, famine is more often than not the result of things like colonization, of imperialism. What happened to the Native Americans? The colonizers deliberately cut off their food supplies, killed and burned the bison just so the natives could not have them to eat. What happened in Ireland? The British took their food and didn't let them farm anything else for themselves apart from potatoes. So when the potato crop failed, the Irish people starved. And by the way, the British continued to just take the other crops from Ireland for themselves. They could have redistributed those crops to the Irish people, but they chose not to. Why was India afflicted with so many famines in the 18 and 1900s? Again, because colonizers demanded taxes in the form of grain. I'm not trying to dog on the British right now, but that was also the British. Famine is very much so a weapon of genocide. It's something that a colonizing nation can inflict on a population that they are trying to supplant while remaining somewhat free from that particular blame. Famine seems like a side effect of various other factors, like, for example, nonstop bombings, but famine is a deliberate thing. And Israel, Netanyahu, they know exactly what they're doing. He's trying to blame Hamas for this. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what we're dealing with.
That's right. Well said. Famine is orchestrated, and it has been done so for many, many years. We'll bring you updates as they come. No one should be disillusioned about the reality of what's happening in Gaza.